Welcome everyone to this important video for everyone who is interested in Tesla and optimizing and maximizing alpha in your trading and investment of Tesla. Here's one very important topic. What about the competition? And in this video, I will outline my thesis why competition is actually a good thing under certain circumstances and why the trajectory of competition in the main trajectories of Tesla and the main cash flow trajectories, which is Optimus, humanoid robots, and RoboTaxi, while the competition in each one is a very important key factor for Tesla's victory. Let me explain why. Before we go into the competition, let me just share very quickly an analysis of why this is so important and why these two trajectories and revenue streams are so important. So here is my fair future value share price model. And I will not go into the details of the model, but basically I'm modeling out 10 years of discounted cash flows looking forward as the basis for my valuation model of Tesla. And I have something that I call future fair value share price, which tells you what the fair value of Tesla stock is in any given year, actually also per month. That's a different video. But as you can see, the future fair value share price of Tesla end of 2025, I'm projecting at $654. Now, 226 of that is RoboTaxi. And when I say RoboTaxi, I mean future discounted cash flows for 10 years from 2026 onwards, right? For each year, 10 years ahead. Optimus is 310 and core EV and energy is 119. In percentage terms, what you see is RoboTaxi makes up 35% of that stock price. Optimus makes 47% of that stock price. That is why it's so important. Together, there are 82% of the entire value of Tesla come from these future revenue streams that are not even active right now. And what is very important about that is this is just a very conservative model because it's 10 years discounted cash flow. I could also have used 15 or 20 years. I believe in 10 years. Now, this also discounts the risk, right? Independent of the discount rate. So this is a pretty conservative, realistic model, in my opinion. And what you see is, or what you can derive from that is that the timelines of the launch and the timelines of the scaling are very important. Because if you get 1 year delayed from all the projections I have, let's say everything that I project starting in 2026 only happens in 2027, this whole thing would get shifted, right? The target price of end of next year of $1,100 per share would shift into 2027. That is very important to understand, that a shift in timelines and launch timelines and scaling timelines has pretty significant effects on the share price because it's discounted cash flow. If you push the cash flow out into the future, you will have less of a share price. Now, that is very important. And I will get back to that in a minute. It's very important to understand because that means that the biggest risk to Tesla, besides competition, that we will cover in a second, is actually delay of the launch and scaling of these two key technologies. Any kind of delay impacts the stock price very significantly and directly. And what I will show in this video is the central driver, the central key to not delaying anything is the competition. So let's talk about the competition for a second. The competition, starting with robotaxis, is something that some people have discounted. Some Tesla bulls say, well, there is no real competition, but I disagree with that. Let's look at this little video, for example, shared by Morgan Stanley, where we see that, in fact, there is competition. So you see here a whole video. I can just let it run while we watch it, of a competing system, which is Wave. I think a Chinese thing. Also no LiDAR, so that's a good sign. They're smart. They're not using LiDAR. And it's similar to a Tesla, and it works perfectly. And Morgan Stanley was shocked sitting in this cab and seeing, wow, it really works. So it is not that Tesla has an insurmountable technology advantage on the specific FSD technology. Tesla might be ahead of everyone right now, but there are other people coming up with it. In fact, I'm predicting that by 2028, maybe 2029, but I think 2028, FSD technology, the ability to be, let's say, 1,000 or 10,000 times safer than a human driver, will be actually commoditized. Why am I saying something crazy like this? Because we are in the age of AGI. We have crossed the singularity, which is very dangerous, by the way, but we're talking about Tesla and share prices here. The age of singularity means that the progress of all kinds of artificial intelligence will be very exponential. So I'm predicting by 2028, we will have probably open source models that just turn every car into fully self-driving, which is crazy. So I think the actual technology advantage of Tesla is pretty limited in terms of pure technology. And all this talk about data and everything, it's all a function of data multiplied with algorithm power, multiplied with compute. And algorithms go through the roof, and compute goes through the roof, which compensates for a lack of data. So that is my prediction. And you will think, oh my God, that's a total disaster. Tesla doesn't have a moat. But that's not true. We will get to the moats in a second, and then I will explain how it all ties together. But before we do that, we will go into the second big topic, which is humanoid robots. So what happens there? Does Tesla Optimus have no competition there? What is the situation? And well, I can just tell you, there's a lot happening with humanoid robots. Actually, a ton is happening. And in this little video that we can watch, they actually show the top 10 or 15 robots. So here you have one, and they're mostly in China. And you see they're just all walking around, right? They're doing their little tricks. And Tesla Optimus is just one of them. So yes, while if you look at Waymo in RoboTaxis or some of the usual suspects, figure one robots, right, as competitors for Tesla Optimus, we have to understand that there is competition out there. Now, again, the question is there a fundamental technology moat in the AI, in the brains of the robots, embodied AI, right, that Elon is sometimes advertising? I don't think that the actual embodied AI will be the biggest moat of Tesla. I do believe, very similar to RoboTaxis, that AI is on such an exponential trajectory that it's very unlikely that anyone can maintain a major AI moat just because of some data. I think we will see massively exponential capabilities over the next 5 years that will create a first point of total commoditization for these things around 2028, 2029, maybe 2030 for the robots too. RoboTaxis 2028, maybe robots 2030, where you have basically open source models that turn everything that is a robot hardware piece into a fully humanoid robot that is extremely capable. So that is what I'm thinking about the competition. I think in both instances, Tesla has serious competition in terms of AI, at least over the next 5 years. They will be coming up. And I will explain now why this is not bad for the stock, but it's actually very, very good for the stock. And it's actually very important. It's much better having this competition than not having the competition. And I will explain right now why I believe that. So let's think a moment about what competition actually means and why it could be bad. Competition is bad if you don't have a moat. Competition is bad when it can put so much pressure on your company that shareholders like us don't know. We cannot predict if Tesla is going to be the big winner. Winner takes most of robotaxis and autonomous vehicles, and winner takes most in humanoid robots. If there would be a real competition where Tesla doesn't have a very strategic moat, we should be a little scared. And too much competition could destroy the entire investment thesis, because while every thinking human being would agree with me that there are multi-tens of trillions of dollar TAMs coming up in both very soon and very quickly, the main argument about competition is like, well, great, then you have a $50 trillion TAM combined or something by 2030 that you could start to capture. But what if Tesla doesn't capture it and someone else captures it? That's very bad. So here's what I think about moats. As I explained, I don't think the AI is the actual moat, because I do think AI will be commoditized because it's too exponential, the trajectory. Tesla will not maintain that moat. But AI technology, the actual intelligence, is not the only possible moat. Let's think this through. In robotaxis, why am I so confident Tesla's going to win this race? Because robotaxis will be a function of technology. Okay, take this aside because it's not going to work as a moat. But then it's going to be a function of the install base, where it's very decisive that Tesla is the first company to have real self-driving deployed this year, latest next year. Let's hope this year. So the install base will be very important. Even more important will be the user base, of course, right? Especially if the competition is, not cheaper or anything. And then finally, and this is the most important mode of Tesla, it's going to be the cost basis. The ability to produce and deploy robotaxis at a price per quality rate that no one can beat. So funnily enough, when you really think it through, the real mode of Tesla is the cyber cap, the actual hardware. No one in the world can produce something at comparable cost and performance ratios. It's going to be a beautiful, perfectly designed, vertically integrated thing. And they will be ahead by millions or tens of millions of robotaxis or cybercabs before 2028, before the AI tech becomes totally commoditized. And at that point, what are you going to do with a commoditized AI tech in full self-driving? You still need all the taxis, you still need the install base, and you still need the users. And if you cannot undercut Tesla dramatically with costs, how are you ever going to catch up to tens of millions of installed cybercabs, or let's say millions by then? So when you really think it through, that's how Tesla wins. Tesla wins by getting there first and scaling like crazy. Keep that in mind. I will get back to this in a second. Now let's talk about Optimus mode. Very similar but not identical to the Cybercab. Optimus mode is, again, Tesla will be the first to get there and deploy it at scale. They will have massive scaling advantages with Optimus robots, with fully vertically integrated systems and supply chains. The advantage of the Optimus supply chain and scaling and cost basis will be not as big and not as insurmountable as with a Cybercab. So it's slightly different. It will be significant, but it's much easier, not easy, but much easier than Cybercab for any well-funded multi-billion-dollar startup to catch up to the Optimus supply chain, because Optimus is so much easier to produce than a Cybercab. So it could be more surmountable than a Cybercab hardware production advantage. But there are additional aspects to Optimus that if Tesla plays it right, and I can't tell you if they play it right, but we here at the Reality Engineering Group on X, we already are pretty big. I hope we gain enough influence to make sure Tesla understands how they really generate a strategic advantage. And you probably have heard about my theory. The key to humanoid robots will be IP. What do I mean with that? And most people don't understand manufacturing, especially specialized manufacturing in Germany, Japan, South Korea, sorry, not North Korea. They don't understand it enough to understand how important it is to actually have trained Optimus robots in specific verticals of the industries setting that are trained by the people in charge, right? The key for an Optimus robot system that can actually be deployed worldwide with hundreds of millions or billions of robots that can do all these specific tasks that generate the most value in different industrial verticals is that you need to incentivize the companies to actually train these robots with their very specific IP. Think about Mercedes-Benz or Volkswagen, but more importantly, they might be out of business by then. Miele, Bosch, all these high quality, or Mitsubishi in Japan, right, or Samsung, they have their manufacturing lines. They can deploy Optimus to replace human workers. They can make them much better and specialized workers. But they need to be trained like humans, and they need to be trained in very specific tasks. Do not think that any Optimus robot can just walk into a specialized production line and do the stuff. How would Optimus know how to do that? No one knows how to do that. Only the owners of this very specialized production line know what to do to produce it. Optimus can't come up with this. So they need to hold the hand of Optimus and train it. Now, they're not going to do that if there's a general training logic where you train one Optimus, the training module goes up into a Tesla cloud, and all Optimuses in the world now can do it. Why would you ever do that? You would rather, kill that Optimus robot before you train it with your super specialized Japanese or South Korean or German or Swedish, whatever, specialized manufacturing knowledge. You will not train Tesla's robots. You will demand IP protection. you will demand that these are your IP modules that are implanted in Optimus, and you will ensure that they are not uploaded to a general Tesla cloud. No way. You want actually guarantees that this is not happening. And by Tesla inventing what I call the App Store of Optimus, it incentivizes everyone to go all in and train these Optimus robots, because now they can license it, they can sell it, they can empower other people to use their production methods, but they know who, and they get paid for it. It creates a giant new economy that runs on Optimus. And Tesla is much better off protecting that IP and granting, like in the App Store, granting each IP provider the right to protect this. So I'm not going to go into this too deep, but it's inevitable if you understand anything about all these companies, right? $100 trillion global GDP, they're not just going to give up all their IP. Of course not. You need to build something new that sucks the world's IP into modules that run on Optimus. And this is just one example of what needs to happen to really have the robot economy in full swing. Tesla will be the first one to understand it. Tesla will implement these systems, and these systems then create an insurmountable moat. Because if you don't have that system, you can't compete. It doesn't matter what hardware you have. Long story short, these things make me very sure that Tesla will win this race. You also need trust. You don't want a Chinese company suck out all your IP and all that kind of stuff. The more you think it through, the more you realize China has no chance in this race because of trust issues. So what does it all mean? It means two things. AI technology is not the moat of Tesla. AI technology is the tool to be first to market and get to scale before anyone else. When it becomes commoditized, you have the install base and you have the experience in these more tertiary value creation frameworks to actually fend off any competition. So I'm not concerned about the competition. But we also know that you can launch these robotaxis, and if Tesla takes too much time, they will lose this moat. This moat is a function of speed. If Tesla, let's say, deploys 10,000 robotaxis by 2028, Tesla will be toast. If they do not manage to be at millions in scale by 2028, they will full on run into competition where suddenly they have no advantage, right? They didn't scale Cybercab. They didn't scale install base. They will be screwed. They have now the unique chance, because of their technology leadership, to create an insurmountable moat. But if they fail on the timing, they will be screwed. On Optimus, the same thing. What I'm saying now is on YouTube, in this video, in other videos I made, the other people are going to understand it. They're going to say, well, we need to race towards that point too. Optimus is not the only robot that can do that. Figure One could have the same idea. Tesla has all the cards in their hands right now. If they launch Optimus this year, if they scale it next year, they make sure these IP capture frameworks are developed and deployed also in 2026. If they make sure, all these international specialized companies will actually start using that and helping them to iteratively develop these systems in 26 and latest 2027, then Tesla will absolutely win. But if Tesla delays on the Optimus side too, well, in parallel on Optimus, they will lose their edge. They will be eaten alive by the competition. What does it mean for us as shareholders? I think it's very powerful. This is exactly what you want, because we still have a beautiful path, default path, that Tesla will be tens and tens of trillions of dollars in share price by 2030, capture the vast majority of all these markets. We are on a perfect trajectory there. But in my opinion, the biggest risk is that Tesla becomes decadent. Elon gets distracted. They're losing grip of the timelines. That's the biggest risk that would normally happen. But because of the competition, the more other people, like this video we just saw in London of the self-driving wave car, or all these robots that are coming up, the more this comes into the media, the more the media says, look at these guys. And the more these guys are actually very good at their job, like what most Chinese companies that are now surfacing, they look very good. They're not fake news. The more pressure Elon will feel, and the more Elon will be reminded, don't drop the ball. You have a certain window of opportunity, 2 years or something, to really charge ahead here. But you need to seize that opportunity. Otherwise, you will be in deep trouble with competition. There's nothing better than a setup like this for us as shareholders, because we have the path to tens of trillions of dollars in market cap short term. in 5 years. And at the same time, we know that Elon is probably not going to drop the ball because if the competition is heating up as we speak, and he sees it in the media, he sees it on X, he sees it on CNBC, and he will get pressure on it. And if you say, oh, Elon is like a demigod, he doesn't need pressure, I think you're wrong. Everyone needs a little bit of pressure. Can't hurt, because it shuts down the exit door to being lazy or distracted. So that gives me a lot of confidence. The more of this competitive stuff I see, the more happy I will be. The more it surfaces up and creates real heat and pressure on Tesla, the more happy we can be. Because we know two things. If it doesn't happen, there's a real risk that Tesla gets lazy. And second, all the competition in the world cannot really become a problem for Tesla, as long as they keep their timelines and execute before 2028 to get to scale on Optimus and to get to scale on FSD. So that's my opinion. Now you know why the competition is the key to Tesla's victory, and why I think we're on a beautiful path right now. Everything is Goldilocks, but we have to keep watching and make sure that victory is actually brought home. I hope that was helpful, and see you very soon.